If you're planning a trip to Switzerland, then you've probably figured out that not buying a Swiss train pass is like throwing your money in the garbage. But how on earth are you supposed to figure out which Swiss train pass is best for your Swiss vacation?
I analyzed over 200 Switzerland trip itineraries to find out which of the smorgasbord of Swiss train passes is best for each trip. And no, I didn't spend forever researching this. Why would you ask that? Jokes aside, I've done the research so you don't have to. And the cool thing is that most of these example itineraries come from travelers like you who've booked a Swiss vacation consultation with us. So instead of making up a bunch of random examples on my own, I literally took them from you.
But we have a lot to cover, so let me tell you where we're headed. We're gonna give you specific train pass recommendations for trips to Zermatt, Lucerne, the Jungfrau region, and a combination of each of those places. We will also discuss scenic train routes, notes about the Eurail and Interrail passes, traveling with children, and quite a few other scenarios as well. Which basically means if you're coming to Switzerland and planning to ride at least one train, bus, boat, cable car, or funicular, then some part of this video will help you plan your trip and save you money. But before we dive in, it's important for you to have a basic understanding of Swiss train passes.
You can place all of these passes into 3 categories based on where they're valid. National passes can be used year-round throughout the entire country of Switzerland. These include the Swiss Travel Pass, the Half Fare Card, and various day passes as well. There's also something called a GA card, but it's mostly for Swiss residents who do lots of commuting, so we won't be covering that in this video. The biggest difference is that the Swiss Travel Pass and the day passes can sometimes be used without buying an additional ticket, but the Half Fare Card always requires you to buy a ticket. Think of it this way. The Half Fare Card is basically a 50% discount card for trips throughout Switzerland. You'll have to buy a ticket every time you travel, but that ticket comes at half price. The way the Swiss Travel Pass is marketed, it seems as if it's the one ticket you'll need for traveling throughout Switzerland. And this is true for cross-country travel and for trips at lower elevations. But as you start heading up and into the mountains, the Swiss Travel Pass basically gets downgraded to a Half Fare Card. It'll give you a discount on those mountain trains and cable cars, but you'll still need to buy a ticket and it usually costs about half price. There are exceptions where the Swiss Travel Pass will fully cover a mountain excursion, and we'll mention a few of those later. But when it comes to choosing a Swiss train pass, it's very important to realize that you're likely still going to have to buy tickets on your trip, even if you buy the Swiss Travel Pass. Regional passes can be used in specific parts of the country, but not everywhere. And there are often separate passes for summer and winter. They work as your ticket, providing free travel to most destinations within the region where they're valid, or offering discounted tickets where they're not. They can be a great value if you'll spend enough time exploring the mountains, where ticket prices can equal or exceed the cost of a cross-country trip. So we'll be considering regional passes for trips to Zermatt, the Jungfrau region, and to Lucerne. Finally, European passes can be used in Switzerland and beyond all year long, and these basically come down to the Eurail and Interrail passes. For those of you traveling by train to multiple European countries, you're probably strongly considering one of these passes. And once again, they provide great value for the right kind of trip. Cross-country and city-to-city trains are often fully covered, and those can cost quite a bit more in Switzerland than similar distances in other countries if you have to buy a ticket. However, you need to know their limitations as well. Boats are sometimes covered, but more often you'll only get a 50% discount or even no discount at all. In the mountain regions, you'll usually get a 25% discount, but sometimes none. And buses in Switzerland? Well, those aren't covered at all. So to sum it up, there is no perfect train pass for Switzerland. In fact, Switzerland, if you're listening, please consider offering a pass that really does cover every single ride in the country. Even if you charge a pretty penny for it, I think lots of travelers would buy it. The simplicity and convenience alone could be worth the money. Okay, while this Train Pass 101 section has made you more knowledgeable about Swiss train passes, it hasn't given you a lick of insight into which pass is best for your trip. So let's get to the good stuff.
Like we mentioned earlier, we've analyzed more than 200 trip itineraries. mainly based on travelers who booked a Swiss vacation consultation with us. And for each of those scenarios, we've considered where and how often each traveler is likely to use public transportation during their trip. To be 100% certain of which train pass or combination of train passes is best for your trip, you would need to price out every ride you plan to take, and then compare it to the half-fare card, and then compare it to the Swiss Travel Pass, or a regional pass, or the Eurail Pass. But honestly, who wants to do that?
Oh.
So sit back, relax, and listen for the trip itinerary that best fits your plans. And then rest easy knowing that our recommendation is a solid choice for your budget, and it will save you lots and lots and lots of time trying to figure it out yourself.
Okay, so maybe you're a city slicker and really don't care to visit the mountains or the countryside. Well, if you're only planning to visit a few of the Swiss cities, then you're in the minority of Swiss travelers who are better off without a Swiss train pass. Most of these cities offer overnight visitors a guest card that includes free local transportation and discounts to nearby activities. So just pay full price for tickets between the cities, use that guest card for free transportation within the cities, and you'll come out ahead. But what if you'll venture beyond the cities? First things first, if you consider yourself a budget traveler, then it's really hard to beat the Swiss half-fare card. For just 120 Swiss francs, you gain the privilege of buying all of your tickets at half price for an entire month. Even if you're just a discerning consumer who'd rather not pay for stuff you won't use, the half-fare card is ideal. When you go out to travel or explore, you just buy a ticket at half price. And if you're tired and you need to chill, you don't have to worry about wasting a day of your train pass while you're not riding any transportation. I really wish we had an affiliate link for the half-fare card because it's as close to a perfect train pass for Switzerland as we've found. Besides being good for your budget, it's also really good for a healthy travel pace. You're not tempted to go just because you have a train pass.
Speaking of go, if you're traveling with children, Switzerland might surprise you with its level of family friendliness. And that starts with some great deals on transportation. Kids under the age of 6 travel for free everywhere throughout the entire country of Switzerland. Kids age 6 to 15 travel for half price. However, if you have the Swiss family card, then they also can travel throughout Switzerland for free, as long as they're with you and you have a valid ticket or pass.
So how do you get the Swiss family card? You simply request it when you buy a Swiss travel pass or a half-fare card. And the best news is it's completely free. Once kids turn 16, they're officially adults as far as normal ticket prices go. However, it's possible to snag a youth discount on a couple of the passes up to the age of 25 or even 28. We'll be sure to let you know when this option makes the most sense for you. While our recommendations from here on out provide the best balance of cost savings and convenience, I don't want you to think that buying tickets has to be inconvenient. In fact, I really can't stress enough how easy it is to buy tickets with the SBB mobile app.
This next section is for you if you're coming to Switzerland to visit Zermatt, but not the Jungfrau region or Lucerne.
Most of you coming to Switzerland are not planning a budget trip. It's not that you aren't budget conscious, because many of you are. It's just that you recognize that Switzerland isn't cheap and you're willing to invest your hard-earned money to see the best that it offers. And one of the biggest draws are the Swiss Alps. So let's look at train pass options for trips to Zermatt to be in the shadows of the mighty Matterhorn. The major excursions here are Gornergrat, Glacier Paradise, and Rothhorn, and they are not cheap. So is there a train pass that covers all of them? Yes, there is, and it's called the Peak Pass, which is available starting at just 1 day or for up to an entire month. But most of you are only in Zermatt for a few days. So should you buy the Peak Pass? The short answer is probably not. If you're coming to Switzerland for 1 to 3 days and only visiting Zermatt, buy the 3-day Swiss Travel Pass. Your trips to and from the airport or a neighboring country will be totally covered, and you'll get a 50% discount on everything you do in the mountains during your stay. And if you're 16 to 24 years old, choose the 3-day Swiss Travel Pass Youth, snagging a 30% discount off the cost of the Adult Pass. And a little bonus tip, if you're traveling during high season and will visit Gornergrat and Glacier Paradise on the same day, then buy the Peak2Peak ticket in addition to your Swiss travel pass. It's only available for a limited time, usually in July and August, but you can buy it at a discounted price with your Swiss travel pass, allowing you to enjoy both of these experiences for cheaper than you otherwise could. But what if you'll spend at least 4 days in Switzerland while visiting Zermatt? In this case, adults should buy the half fare card instead of the Swiss travel pass. And while youth 16 to 24 will benefit from a 4-day Swiss travel pass youth, for anything longer than 4 days, they too should buy the half fare card instead. In each of these cases, it's also still worth buying the Peak2Peak ticket when it's offered if you'll be visiting Gornergrat and Glacier Paradise on the same day. If you're driving to Zermatt, which is a car-free village by the way, do not buy the Swiss travel pass or the half fare card. And we've got some more tips for those of you arriving by car in our free download. Finally, note that the Eurail and Interrail passes provide 0 discounts within Zermatt. So while it might be worth using an extra available day on your pass to get to or from Zermatt, don't waste any of your days while you're there.
Whew, that was a lot, and there's still plenty more to cover. So be sure to get our free download to use as a reference after watching this video. We break everything down in a really easy to follow format, and there's even bonus tips in there that you will not find in this video. But for now, let's keep going. And next up is one of our favorite places in Switzerland, the Jungfrau region. This part is for you if your Swiss vacation is taking you to the Jungfrau region, but not to Zermatt or Lucerne.
I'm pretty sure this area of the country needs no introduction. With its snow-capped mountains, crystal blue glacial lakes, and oodles of alpine charm, this region is can't miss. The biggest change this year is that the Top of Europe Pass no longer exists, and none of the available passes will cover you all the way up to Jungfrau Joch. So in place of the Top of Europe Pass, you're likely to hear about the Jungfrau Travel Pass. It covers most of the top mountain destinations in the region, and it also includes boat rides on Lake Thun and Lake Brienz. But once again, the most marketed pass is rarely your best option. For 3 to 5 day trips here, our budget recommendation is to just choose the half fare card. But for some added convenience, go with the half fare card plus the Berner Oberland Pass. This is our absolute favorite pass for the Jungfrau region because it covers everything the Jungfrau Travel Pass does and way more, both within the region and throughout the entire Berner Oberland. But it does so at a very similar price to the Jungfrau Travel Pass, and we almost always recommend pairing it with a half fare card. That's because the half fare card will more than pay for itself once you factor in the discount that it gives you on the Berner Oberland Pass, half-price tickets for travel to and from the airports, and 50% discounts on any other travel you do throughout the entire country. For a standard 3 to 5 day trip here, you'll spend about 40 francs more overall with the Berner Oberland Pass compared to just buying the Swiss half fare card, but it'll save you from having to buy about 13 more tickets. By the way, we can't mention every possible option for added convenience in this video because, well, that would be boring. But we've included them in your free download. But what if you're driving to the region for 3 to 5 days? In this case, the Jungfrau Travel Pass will actually be the better deal. It's slightly cheaper than the Berner Oberland Pass, and you're also not going to need a half fare card because you'll be traveling by car. For 6 to 10 day trips to the region, buy the half fare card plus the Berner Oberland Pass. And for anything longer than that, well, the half fare card would be hard to beat in most cases. But there is one interesting option available, and it's actually a train pass that we both have in our wallets right now. It's the Jungfrau Season Travel Pass, and it's valid from early April through the end of October. It's not that much more expensive than an 8-day pass, and it's the only option on this list that offers completely free travel to Jungfrau Joch and to the Schilthorn. So if you're staying here for a really long time or doing an absolute ton over 2 or 3 weeks, it's an option worth exploring. But note that it does not include boat rides on Lake Thun and Lake Brienz. You might also be wondering how a Eurail or Interrail pass would perform here. Well, for the average 3 to 5 day trip, you'd save between 30 and 70 Swiss francs compared to buying and using the half fare card. But that doesn't even include the cost of purchasing the Eurail Travel Pass. which starts at a cost of about 255 francs for adults for 4 days, or around 190 francs for youth aged 27 and younger. And you'd be buying tickets basically anytime you go anywhere, with less of a discount than the half fare card. If you just happen to have plenty of extra available days on your Eurail Pass, then definitely use them. I mean, why not? For example, if you're planning to travel Europe for about 4 weeks and you're already considering a 1-month Eurail Pass, the cost to upgrade to a 2-month pass is very minimal and might be the best value available on a Eurail or Interrail pass. But don't buy or increase the number of travel days on a Eurail Pass just to cover trips here. It's just not worth it.
Your brain is probably swirling with train passes by now. I know mine is. We've included links to purchase all these passes in the description below and in our free download. And a couple of those links are affiliate links. So if you found this content to be helpful, we'd be so grateful if you purchased your Swiss train pass using our links. Thanks.
Before we talk about combining multiple regions together in one trip, there is another place I'd like to discuss.
This section is for you if your trip to Switzerland includes Lucerne, but not Zermatt or the Jungfrau region.
Lucerne is, in our opinion, the best example of a small, charming Swiss city. But beyond its covered bridges and city walls, there are seemingly endless mountain excursions for you to explore. And the 3 most popular are without a doubt Mount Pilatus, Mount Rigi, and Mount Titlis. The Tel Pass is available here, starting at just 2 days, and offers completely free travel for just about anything you might consider doing in this region, including those big 3. So, is it best for your trip? Well, for a 1 to 3 day trip here where you're mainly just interested in seeing the city and possibly doing one mountain excursion, just pay full price for tickets. It costs about 30 francs one way from the Zurich airport to Lucerne, and once you're there, you probably won't need to buy any more tickets thanks to the Lucerne guest card. But if your plans include 2 or 3 of those mountain adventures, then purchase the Tel Pass. Just keep in mind though that there are no discounts available when purchasing the Tel Pass, so we would not recommend also buying the half fare card. And once again, there are a few more nuanced situations for Lucerne only trips, which you can find in our free download.
All right, you savvy Swiss traveler, we're about halfway through our lessons on Swiss train passes, and Brett needed a little bit of a brain break, but he's back and ready for part 2. It's pretty simple to figure out which train pass is best for your trip if you're only visiting one of these regions. But what happens when you start combining them, which is probably the case for your Swiss vacation? Let's start with a trip to Switzerland that focuses on the Jungfrau region and Zermatt, but not Lucerne.
For starters, always buy the half fare card. Sometimes you'll want additional passes, but never in place of this. Let's look at a 3 to 5 day trip in the Jungfrau region plus some time in Zermatt. Once again, if you'll visit Gornergrat and Glacier Paradise on the same day, add a Peak2Peak ticket when it's available. And for added convenience, consider buying a Berner Oberland pass in addition to the half fare card to cover your time in the Jungfrau region. Or if you'll be driving, the Jungfrau travel pass plus a half fare card. Then you can still add a Peak2Peak ticket in the scenario I just mentioned. Both of these scenarios would add about 40 Swiss francs to your overall cost, while keeping you from having to buy around a dozen more tickets. Yet another thing we love about our dear Berner Oberland Pass is just how far it will take you. It covers you all the way to Bern, Lucerne, and even to Brig if you take the route through Kandersteg. And new for 2023, it'll now get you all the way to Italy. We wouldn't recommend adding a day to your Berner Oberland Pass just to cover travel to or from the region, but having this option is a nice bonus, and it's especially great if you'll be traveling for half of a day and doing a mountain excursion for half of a day in the same day. And if you'll spend 6 to 10 days in the Jungfrau region, plus some time in Zermatt, then the half fare card plus Berner Oberland Pass is definitely the way to go. Once again, considering adding the Peak2Peak ticket in the scenarios we've already mentioned a few times.
Now, let's pause for a minute, because I bet some of you are thinking, Brett, this is really helpful. I can appreciate all the work you've put into this. But I'm planning to ride the Glacier Express or the Bernina Express, and won't that change things?
This is a fantastic question, and one I really want to help you think well about. These scenic train rides can often cross the country, lasting up to 8 hours, and can be really expensive. So here are a few facts and figures to help you out. The Glacier Express costs about 60 francs with the half fare card between Zermatt and Chur. Our example itineraries that include Zermatt already account for a cost of 51 francs to go from Zermatt to the Geneva airport, which you won't need to do if you're riding the Glacier Express. So that's a difference of just 8.5 francs. But then you'd need to get from Chur to the Zurich airport, which would cost about another 22 francs, meaning doing the Glacier Express would only add about 30 francs in most cases if you have the half fare card. And in 0 of those examples would it be worth bumping up to a Swiss travel pass just to have that ride covered. Riding the Bernina Express from Chur to Tirano, Italy will cost about 32 francs with the half fare card. But most people actually get to Chur by riding the Glacier Express, and those 2 rides combined would cost 91 francs with the half fare card. But it's also another way to leave Switzerland, which replaces the 51 francs to get from Zermatt to the Geneva airport that's already factored into our number crunching, meaning you could ride both of these stunningly scenic trains for just 40 more francs with the half fare card. To convince you further, in many of the 200 scenarios we ran where the Swiss travel pass was not the best choice, it wasn't even a close second. In fact, it was often well over 150 francs more expensive for trips involving one or more of these regions. And here's one more slam dunk for the half fare card. Saver day passes can be purchased up to 60 days in advance for as little as 29 francs. And these day passes allow you to travel anywhere in Switzerland for free that the Swiss travel pass will. Even for peak season, I'm seeing plenty of these available for between 39 and 49 francs. So this could be a convenient and budget-friendly way of piecing together some travel-heavy days that won't already be covered by a train pass. Here's an example of the power of these day passes. We recently traveled from Italy to Interlaken. Now, we could have just paid for basic tickets, which would cost about 44 francs with the half fare card. But instead, we rode the Gotthard Panorama Express, an underrated scenic trip that takes you by train from Lugano to Flüelen, then by boat all the way across to Lucerne. And then we took another scenic train from there to Interlaken. The full price to do all of this would be about 213 francs or 114 francs with the half fare card. But we purchased day passes for 49 francs each, allowing us to enjoy this entire day of travel for just 65 francs, including the mandatory seat reservation fee for the Gotthard Panorama. And the best part is, those day passes were for first class. By the way, what's true for adding scenic trains to your itinerary is almost always true for adding pretty much any other Swiss destination we haven't mentioned. So the short summary is, you might think you need the Swiss travel pass if you're planning to ride a few scenic trains, but you probably don't.
If your trip to Switzerland includes the Jungfrau region and Lucerne, but not Zermatt, then this section is for you.
If you're combining 3 to 5 days in the Jungfrau region, plus a few days in Lucerne, the budget option is to simply buy the half fare card. In almost all cases, this will be the cheapest overall, no matter what you're planning to do. But there are some solid options to pay for a little more convenience. For example, adding a Berner Oberland pass for your time in the Jungfrau region will cost between 25 and 45 francs more, but it'll save you from buying about a dozen extra tickets. And if you're 16 to 24, buying a Swiss Travel Pass Youth will cost about 15 to 35 francs more, but it'll save you from having to buy probably 8 to 10 more tickets. Consider this especially if you plan to visit Mount Rigi, which is one of the few mountain excursions that's fully covered by the Swiss Travel Pass. The exception to all this would be if you're planning at least 3 major mountain excursions near Lucerne, for example, Pilatus, Rigi, and Titlis, go with the half fare card plus the Tel Pass. And this would be the case whether you're traveling by train or even if you're driving. By the way, if you're driving, we have some bonus tips in the download to help you pick the best pass for this type of road trip. If you're spending 6 to 10 days in the Jungfrau region, plus a few days in Lucerne, choose the half fare card plus the Berner Oberland pass. If you're traveling by car in this scenario, the half fare card would be the cheapest option. But for just about 25 francs more, you could add a Berner Oberland pass, which would save you from buying a boatload or cable car load of extra tickets. Once again, doing at least 3 of the major excursions near Lucerne would change our budget recommendation to the half fare card plus the Tel Pass. But in this case, you can enjoy the convenience of both of those plus the Berner Oberland Pass for just about 20 francs more than if you did not buy the Berner Oberland Pass. Just keep in mind that you need to be doing a lot of high mountain adventures to make the cost of these additional passes worth it.
All right, let's look at one final scenario. Let's say that your trip to Switzerland includes all 3 of these regions, Zermatt, Lucerne, and the Jungfrau region.
To keep from sinking too deep into the weeds, it's simplest just to say that our recommendations for visiting all 3 of these places are nearly the same as trips just to Zermatt and the Jungfrau region, with only a few exceptions. If you're doing 3 or more of those popular excursions near Lucerne, then choose the half fare card plus the Tel Pass if you're an adult, or the Swiss Travel Pass Youth plus the Tel Pass if you're 16 to 24. And if you're driving instead, you can mostly just use recommendations for trips to Lucerne and the Jungfrau region. Then consider the factors we've already mentioned and decide whether or not it's worth adding the Peak Pass or the Peak2Peak Ticket once you're in Zermatt. There's even an unusual scenario where a half fare card plus a Berner Oberland Pass plus a Tel Pass plus a Peak2Peak Ticket makes sense. But whoa, that's way too much to dive into here, so be sure to check out the free download to see if that makes sense for you.
And after all this, there's just one more thing for you to do. Pair your Swiss train pass with a done-for-you Swiss trip itinerary. Just like with Swiss train passes, we take the guesswork out of what to do on your trip to Switzerland and how to organize your days into an itinerary you will love. And we're literally adding more destinations to the digital shelves of our shop as we speak. So snag our free train pass download, grab one of our Swiss trip itineraries, and we'll see you in Switzerland.